You know, this takes many forms. And one of the forms we are blessed with is to have so much talent in our congregation, in our community. And it's growing all the time. We are truly blessed. Let's give our music team another hand. Let's really give them a hand this time. You know, they came in on Wednesday and were rehearsing. And it was so much fun sitting in the office listening to them. And listening to the not just the music, but the process. And the how they worked through what they were going to be singing and when they were going to be singing it and how. And using words I don't know. They're music words. But when you do that, when you experience that, you realize the beauty of a community like this and why we do come together. We come together to share, to give up our hearts and our various gifts. Everybody in this room has a gift of some kind that we come together to share. And part of what draws us here is the law of attraction. You might get there sometime. Which is our third law, our third principle in our series. We began with the law of thinking. And last week we explored the law of supply. This week we are going to explore the law of attraction. And that particular law is the law that underlies every experience we have as individuals, as a people, as a planet. It's all about the law of attraction. We talk about this a lot in unity. It's a big deal in unity, the law of attraction. But how often do we really stop and look at it in depth? We know thoughts held in mind produce after their kind, and we know that also requires some discipline. To discipline the mind as to what kind of thoughts we are going to hold. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is more about how to discipline our thinking, how to change our thinking so that what we are attracting into our lives is what it is we really want. So with the law of attraction, understand it has two phases. It has a yin and a yang, a duality, a give and a take. And the first part of that is desire. The first phase is desire. The second phase is expectation. And these form lines of attractive force. If you look at a diagram of how a magnet works, of how gravity works, of how the magnetic field around the earth works, you'll know there are lines of attraction. And they come from two opposite poles. But neither one can exist by itself. Neither one can function by itself. So we have to look at both of these lines of attraction. And so to begin, understand, desire is a positive force. It is a positive force. It is the positive phase of the law. Expectation is the negative. Now, understand, get this. When I say negative, I don't mean bad. Okay? Positive flows one way, negative flows the other. Okay? It is not bad. You must have negative for flow. Think about electricity. If you don't have a negative side, you have no electricity. It works that way with the law as well. So let's look at these lines of force and how we use them and how we work with them. And we'll begin with desire. Desire connects us to what we want. And it's okay to want things. It really is. You know, there's two phases of Christianity, from one extreme to the other. And they are extremes. There's the one extreme that says, you should not want anything, you should have no possessions, which is not what any master taught, not even the Buddha. Even the Buddha said you should not be attached to things. The other is, oh yeah, you should have all kinds of things and get all kinds of stuff no matter what it takes. Well, that's not what the teachers taught either. We're in the middle, balance, the middle way, like the Buddhists say. And that is, yes, you can desire. You can desire more health. You can desire greater relationships, more love, peace. You can desire physical, manifest things. As long as it's grounded in law and understanding. So this thing we call desire is what connects us to that. When we desire something, we form a bond to it. We form an energetic bond. Now, all we've done is form a bond. It may not have manifested yet. It takes more than desire. You know, there's so many books that talk about, you know, the secret and all of that. Oh, you gotta hold it in your mind all the time. And if you hold it in your mind long enough, plop, it'll show up right in front of you. No. There are other steps that have to be taken as well. But that is the first step. Desire is the motive force. It's what sets things in motion. It's what begins to move the energy. It calls forth from the image to visible appearance. It takes an idea and gives it form. Okay? Let's take something really mundane and simple. A new car. Okay? A new car. So you have this idea, well, I need a new car. And it's just a new car. But desire says, okay, let's make a picture of it. What kind of car? What color? What model? What year? How much you're going to pay? All that kind of stuff. And so that begins to form that attraction. Have you ever manifested something in your life that started as just a vague idea, and then it began to evolve and evolve and evolve, and pretty soon you had it? You know, many years ago, when one of the very early classes I ever took in Unity, we had an assignment where we were to visualize and describe and draw a picture through an artist of your dream home. And I dreamed of a home way up in the mountains with a creek running through it. In that part of the country where I live, that's really unusual. But I dreamed it. And I created that desire. And it took me a few years to manifest it, but I did manifest it. A home on, in the national forest at 8,000 feet altitude with a creek. It works. But it takes steps. It takes work. Desire without expectation, though, is idle wishing. You have to have that expectation that, yes, it's going to happen. It's going to manifest. I'm going to prepare to receive it. Expectation is the drawing force of the mind. Desire is the moving out. Expectation is the drawing in. Desire is the going out for the vision, the image. Desire is bringing it into your experience, into your consciousness. And it is preparing to actually receive something. You know what I really desire right now is a glass of water. Annabelle, can you bring me that water, please? Can you bring me a glass of water? I don't have a cup. Well, how can I have water? but I desire one. But I can visualize it. I see it. I expect this.
If you really expect it, where's your glass?
I do have. That was a demonstration of how it works. You cannot receive what you are desiring. No, I don't want my cup to run over on this particular example. Thank you. You cannot receive your good if you don't have a place for it. And that place for it starts in consciousness. You have to have a place in consciousness. But you also have to have a place in your physical experience for it. Got it? Expectation is powerful. And we have to prepare. You know, there's an old story about back in the days of the Dust Bowl. A preacher went to a town over in Kansas here. And he said, we're going to have a service and we're going to pray for rain. Do you all believe we can make it rain? And everybody, oh yeah, we believe. You know, Tuesday came, Tuesday morning, and everybody gathered out in the field for the prayer service for rain. And the minister looked out across the crowd gathered there and says, we're canceling. It can't rain. He said, but you said it could. He said, well, yeah, I said it could, and I believe it could, but you don't. What do you mean we don't? Not one of you has an umbrella. What do you expect in life? Are you preparing for what you expect? Expectation can be a dangerous thing, too, because it can draw to us sometimes things we don't. The lightning. It can draw to us because expectation always works. It depends on what we are preparing for and what we are holding in mind. This is nothing new. Teachers have been teaching this for thousands upon thousands of years with different terminology. If you come from a very traditional background, you probably grew up with the message, be ready for Satan at all times, because every time you are moving ahead, every time you are prospering, every time things are going good, Satan is ready to attack you. How many of us grew up with that message? Well, I have something to tell you about that. The message was, if you are succeeding, if you are living a Christ-like life, Satan will attack you. And you could lose everything. They were 100% right. Now you're like, wow, you're a good minister, you're saying that. They were 100% right, given that they did not have the scientific language we do today. So what are they talking about here? What is Satan in this case? Well, metaphysically, we have something called an ego. We have an ego. And ego has a purpose. Ego is designed to ensure that the humanness, the human experience we are having, the body, all of this, survives at all costs. That is his job. And so, of course, it is always on the lookout for threats. It is always concerned and centered on survival and being ready for whatever is going to come out there and take from us our life essence or whatever it is we have that we think we need for survival. It's always on the watch, and it's always expected. Now, as I said, they didn't have the modern language. They didn't have the word ego in ancient times. So they used Satan. Okay? That's not Satan. Satan is ego. That's Satan there. Right there. And ego is the biggest block to manifesting what we desire in our lives. And most times, we're unaware of it. And I'm not talking about ego where you have somebody who goes, oh, I'm the best that ever was. I'm so nearly perfect I can hardly stand it. That's not the ego I'm talking about. I'm talking about our own egos that tell us, a rainy day's coming. The other shoe is going to drop. Something's going to happen. I have to be ready. I have to be afraid. So what we have to do is change our expectation. Expect, have you ever thought about that word? Expect. Ex, outer. Spect, the same word we get glasses from, spectacles. What do you see out there? Do you see things that are scary? Do you see forces that are going to take your good from you? Do you see threats? Or do you see your good right in front of you at hand right now. What do you see? I saw the carafe of water, but I had to make a space to receive it. I expected it, but I also have to change my thinking to be able to receive it. So, what do we have to do to make this happen? We have to change the way we think. And how do we do that? Well, we reprogram our minds. That's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen in the next day, in the next week, next month. It's an ongoing process. Most of us in this room are over 30 years old. Some of us are quite a bit over 30 years old. That's a lot of unprogramming to do. Those of you who are younger, hallelujah, you don't have it quite as hard, I don't think. I hope. But we not only have our life experience unprogrammed, I believe we have all of our past life stuff. We have all of society's stuff that we are constantly being programmed with, and we live in a culture that is grounded in fear. I don't think anybody will argue that. Western culture is grounded in fear. Just look around it. But we can begin to change our thinking. As we change ours, we'll change the thinking around us as well. And so how do we do this? Well, we begin by gradually commanding more and more good in our thoughts. Remember 2 weeks ago, I said, notice what you are noticing. Notice what you are noticing. Notice what thoughts are going through your head. Notice when a fear thought, or a threat thought, or an ego thing comes in and says, oh, be careful, be worried. Notice that. And just say, no, I am not going to play that game. I am ready to receive my good. My good is here now. And there is nothing that will threaten me. Because the universe does not deprive us of anything. We live in an infinite universe. We live in a universe of unlimited supply, and it's all available right here and right now. We talked about the idea of automobiles. Everything that was needed for an automobile was available for tens of thousands, millions of years. But we had to get to that place where we could receive the idea, the concept, and bring it out into manifestation. So everything you need is right here. So the first step then is form a clear and well-defined mental picture of what it is you want. That's the desire. A clear, well-defined mental picture. Now, you don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. All you have to do is create the picture and know it's going to happen. When we go out on a journey, we may know or think we know where we're headed. Oftentimes we end up in places that are even more good. Yes, you could say that. But all we have to do is know the next step. So form that picture and take that first step towards it. Don't specify how it's going to manifest or even put a very limiting form on it. Know that God and the universe have something even better in mind. We say unity all the time, God. Yeah, we say unity all the time, and sometimes we use it as a cop-out. Well, this or something better. Yes, this or something better. I'm going to change that. This and something better. Because we are always moving up that spiral. What is perfect today won't be perfect tomorrow. But that's okay, because that's what we are about. We are about evolving and evolution. So don't put limits on it. Let me tell you how that can work. There is a story from the Old Testament about Elisha and a widow. Some of you may know it. This is back thousands of years ago. Elisha, for those of you who don't know, was a prophet. And this widow came up to him in the village and she said, Elijah, my husband died and he left me with all of this debt. And the king is saying he's going to take my sons as slaves to pay off the debt. What do I do? And Elijah said, well, pay the debt. She said, I got nothing. And he said, no, you have some. You have some. Let's sit down and talk about this. It's in much more flowery language in the Bible. But I'm imagining this is kind of probably how it went. He says, let's take a look. What do you have in your house that you could sell? Well, I have nothing. Do you have light, a lamp in your house? Yeah. She says, then you must have oil. She said, well, I only have one pot of oil. You know, we're just a poor family. We don't have anything. She says, you have one pot of oil. It's a start. It's something. He says, here's what I want you to do, because you truly have more than you think you do. I want you to go out, and I want you to borrow empty pots from all of your neighbors. Get as many as you can. And start pouring the oil from your pot into those. And when you have filled all of the pots, sell them. And you'll be able to, pay off the debt. So she goes home, and she gets all her neighbors and gets pots and everything. And I'm betting, because I know how the human mind works, at least how mine works, I'm betting that she was going home, she was going, well, let's see, if I sell each pot for $2 and I do this much, I need 21 pots to pay off the debt. And so she gets the pots, and she fills them all up, and they, 21 pots, I don't know if that's the number, it doesn't say, but I made that number. 21 pots, fills them all to the top, and then her pot is empty, and she sells them, and pays off the debt. Everybody lives happily ever after. But I have a question. What if she had gotten more pots? How often do we limit ourselves? Not only could she have paid off the debt and made sure her sons were free, she could have set her family up for life. What if she had gotten 100 pots? Elijah never put a limit on how many pots to get. She did. How often do we do that to ourselves? How often do we limit what we are ready to receive? In the Dhammapada, there's an opening line. Mano Pubakdama, Dhamma, Mano Setta, Mano Maya. Got that?
No.
I want to know what it says in English. It says, suffering and joy arise from an impure or a pure mind. It's not out there. It's all in here. What do you expect? What do we expect? Jesus said this in Mark. What comes out of a person is what defiles them. For it's from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come. And then if you read that passage in the King James Bible, there's a list of all the evil thoughts you could possibly have. That was not in there originally. That was added years later. Okay? Jesus did not have a list. All he said was, out of our minds come pure or impure thoughts. And he wasn't talking about somebody's idea of morality. He was talking about what is a pure thought. What is an impure thought? A pure thought is one of unlimited supply. A pure thought is knowing that you live in the kingdom of heaven and that everything is at hand right here and right now that you need. All of the knowledge you need for whatever you want to do in your life. All of the wisdom, all of the love, all of the peace, all of the joy, and yes, all of your manifest supply is available right here and right now. The impure thoughts are, I can't have that. Oh, somebody's going to take that. Oh, that's not possible in the world we live in today. Oh, I only have 21 jugs to get wine, to get oil in, or wine. So we have to prepare. We have to be expecting. We have to retrain our mind. As a third person thinks in their heart, so are they. If you think you are limited, you are. If you think you are unlimited, that is the truth. So the next step then is we have to nourish it. We have to give nourishment to what it is we desire, to our dreams, to our hopes. We have to take time and spend with it. We're doing something unusual for people our age, Novella and I. We're dreaming and desiring and expecting a bigger house. Most people downsize at our age. We're working on something bigger because we need more room. We have things we want to do. And all the time, especially Novella, she's really good at it, is going, look at this house, look at this house, look at this house on the Zillow or whatever that is. So we are preparing, we're nourishing the dream, we're visualizing, we're preparing to receive. And it will happen in the fullness of time because we believe that what we need is at hand. So we take an interest in it. We spend time with it. We put our focus on it. Not to the point of obsessiveness, but we put our focus on it. Thoughts held in mind. We hold the thoughts in our mind of greater and greater good. Jesus said this, for whoever will save his life will lose it, and whoever gives his life will have more. I'm going to rephrase that. Whoever gives his life energy for his dream or her dream will have more. Are you giving your life energy for your dreams? And by the way, you can't give it all away. Because the more of it you give, the more of it you have. How many of you have ever been working on a dream, working towards a goal, working towards a project, and the more you work on it, the more energy you get for it? What's happening is you're creating a space for it to flow in. That's how the principle works. And the last part of it is one of the most important parts that we forget sometimes, that is action. You have to do some work. You know, Jesus, I'll get to that in a minute. Raymond Hollowell, in his book, he wrote this. Charles Fillmore said almost the exact same thing. I have little confidence in the Lord answering the one who rocks in an easy chair and waits for the desired thing to be placed in his lap. Jesus spoke about, consider the birds of the air. They don't worry about where their food is coming from. God supplies it. Consider the lilies of the field. They don't worry about where their clothes are coming from. God supplies it. But there is something he does not say. He doesn't say the birds just sit there waiting for the food to fall into their mouths. He doesn't say the lilies of the field just lay on the top of the ground and don't ever put forth roots or take in sunlight and transform it into energy. There is action that must be taken for anything to become manifest. I know I talked to somebody just not too long ago, not from here, from this church, but they would say, well, God will supply. I'm just going to sit here on my porch and God will supply. God will supply, but you got to get up there off your rear and go out and get it. It's there. But you got to take action. The next step is do not desire or demand what rightfully belongs to another. That should be common sense, but it's not in our world today. Do not demand or take what rightly belongs to somebody else. No one and no thing should suffer so that your desires are met. The purest desires are the ones that help everybody around you as well, not just you. Although it is okay to have some personal ones. Our desires should always be about greater expression, greater understanding, increased love. Did you know love and life come from the same root word? They're both actions, they're both energies. And they both have to do with desire and attraction between people, between everything in our experience. So the point of all of this is, you can only receive your desire if you have a place for it. So I invite you to expand your consciousness and make room in your closet for greater good. Namaste.
I'd like to invite Steve up for our first video today for our mission, vision, and values.
Hi, I'm filling in for Randy today. He's doing something far more important than this. He's taking care of the young folks, and we appreciate all that he does for that. Okay. One thing that we don't have a creed here. We don't ask people to sign something. You don't become a member here because you said certain words. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that in some instances, but we don't do that here. These words are our words. These are words that were made up by this congregation. And to say we should live by them to you is just preaching to the choir. What you need to do, like we all need to do, is talk to our neighbors, talk to our friends, go out in our community. communities, go out in the nation, go out in the world, believe the words. Because we're only as good as the words we speak sometimes. Okay, so if you join with me, our mission is to inspire, encourage, and affirm divine freedom within each other. Vision statement. We envision Community of Joplin as a vibrant, progressive, spiritual movement where all are welcome as we co-create a world that works for all. Our core values are: Unity of Joplin is empowering, liberating, inspiring, embracing, exploring, and loving.
And now, have an opportunity to put action in that law of attraction by sharing our financial goods. So, Steve and Elizabeth. I invite you all to say your offering blessing with me. In a universe overflowing with the allness of God, all of the needs of the community of Joplin and those we serve are bountifully met. From every profession, known and unknown, expected and unexpected, our abundant good is here now. Thank you, God. And I would like to invite the food care team up at this point to award the drawing prize for this month. So, Novella, Janet. Now, Marley, you something to sit in on your care team, right?
Yes, one thing. Merlin. What? Okay, you won it. You found the Earth Care Mixer, right? And you have been included in our drawing, which is. So, Janet, you want to explain about this?
Oh, well, one of the nice things about this cleaning product is for your laundry is that unlike paper and plastic, metal is very recyclable. So
You also get a laundry stain stick that is made out of coconut oil, goat milk, sodium hydroxide, and a couple of lint balls, and one load, well actually it's probably about 10 loads, of silk nets. I think they're pretty. So yeah, they're actually nets, and just throw them in just like you would, Tide or whatever. So, okay, there you go. It pays. So look at the email.
Yes, the third care bear is hidden in your email letter. And if you find it, then let us know you're entered in the drawing for whatever the prize is going to be.
So next month we'll have
Okay, so here's your dedication, modification, designs.
these
Tithes and offerings are dedicated to the will and work of Spirit through Unity of Joplin for the highest good of all.
So now we'll do announcements. What do you want to?
So I have a special announcement. If you read the e-letter, you probably saw something about it. We are going to be our small group studies, our spirit groups. How many of you remember when we did it before? So and the book we are using this year is The Universal Christ by Richard Rohr. Richard Rohr is the founder and leader of the Center for Action and Contemplation. He is a best-selling international author. He has worked with the United Nations and with groups all over the world. This book, batteries are going dead.
It's been going there for a long time.
So this book is about the Christ. Not the guy who lived thousands of years ago, who manifested and modeled the Christ for us, but the Christ within, the Christ that is all around us, the Christ that we have the potential to become. So we are going to be looking for a couple people who will host in their home a study group, and then that'll be for 4 weeks, and then on Sunday mornings, the Sunday lesson will go around what was done in the homes that week. So there is a sign-up sheet in the hall. If you're interested in hosting, I invite you to sign up. You get a free book. And don't worry, we give you everything you need to do it. You don't have to know all kinds of stuff. It's a lot of fun, and you'll get to have some friends over.
When does it start?
It will start in March, beginning of March. Yeah, and run through March.